Ivana. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. So today I am talking to Ivana Lombardo, who is a health and wellness coach and a clinical hypnotist. And I wanted to ask you what I've been asking some other people about what your experience has been with the coronavirus and what are some of the things you're doing being in the health and wellness space to sort of stay centered and grounded. So why don't we start there a little bit? And then I know we already talked about a few directions we're going to go with this conversation that I think will be
Yeah.
really interesting. So we'll get into
Uh,
that next.
yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you so much for having me here and being part of this conversation. Is just, I love talking to you. It's always a treat. So this is going to be fun.
Thank you.
And in terms of the coronavirus and what's going on right now, I mean, sleep comes to mind.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Hormones, yeah, tons and tons of sleep, and I didn't realize how much I needed it. So that's kind of what comes to mind immediately. Just some kind of self care in terms of sleeping and taking my time, and you know me from before. We've had these conversations where I can be really on a go all the time and not being able to just relax. So this has been a really nice little reminder to just sit down, focus on what's important, and just let go and relax.
Right. Kind of the back to basics with the sleep
Back to
and just
basics.
noticing what we need. And we really don't need a lot in the long
Yeah.
run, and letting go of
Yeah.
some of the busyness.
Yeah, the busyness really is something that's slowing down. And all of us are forced to just really check out a little bit and really focus on what's important. And yes, there's a real threat around us that's not to be ignored, but um, just slowing down, take inventory of what's really important in your life.
Mhm.
Some of us have family in different places, in different countries, and we cannot necessarily go and see them, and we cannot even go and take care of them if something happens. But I think the most important thing here is really to just take that ownership of your own health and what you can do for yourself and your immediate family.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I want to acknowledge this is what we were talking about a little bit
Yeah,
before, that some of the other people I've been interviewing, we've been talking about what people are finding as the gifts of the coronavirus, in the sense that they're able to take some of that time and
yeah.
go within and explore, and maybe reflect on the things that are important in their life, and
Hmm.
maybe connect with some relaxation they didn't have access to before. So
Yeah.
that is amazing and wonderful. But as we were talking about, there is the part where people are dying and loved ones are
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
And I would love it if you would talk about that a little bit more. As you mentioned, you have family and relatives in other countries, and
Yeah.
close friends, and how you're navigating that with your family and friends.
Yeah. So the question really here is, how do you stay sane when everything around you is so up in the air and we're fighting something that we cannot even see, and we don't even know if it's there? It doesn't have a face, it doesn't have energy, it doesn't have anything. And it really just doesn't matter who you are. You may get, or somebody that you love and care about and care for may get the virus and get, in spite of the fact that majority of people get milder symptoms and they recover, it's still a real threat out there. One of my closest friends here, she has her whole family is in Italy. So if I tell her, well, just breathe, that's not going to work for her.
Mhm.
I have my whole family back in Serbia. I'm from Serbia, and the healthcare system, is not as, I guess, able to support large amount of people in one sitting. Although we're doing tremendously well, but we're still not able to support large amount of people being sick at the same time. So there is a real threat of people dying, and that itself can cause a lot of anxiety. So how do you calm yourself down, and how do you accept the reality? And one thing that comes to my mind is really what I've been doing is really focus on what you can control.
Mhm.
and let go of everything else, because I cannot control, especially where I am here in the United States, I cannot control what's happening on the other side of the world. Um, so a lot of time to me is I read the news and then I let go. And I have assigned amount of time, allocated time that it's going to be for news, for worrying, for thinking about people that I love and care about and care for. And then it let go, because you can only do up to worrying up to a certain amount of time before it starts affecting you directly and starts messing with your own immune system and your own health. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so one of the things again is let go. I allowed myself 30 minutes,
Hmm.
honestly, and after 30 minutes I stop, and then I watch something funny. I always finish up, and that's my transition.
Yeah.
Next activity, I guess, the next part of my day is I watch something funny, stand-up comedy, the funny and good news out there. There's so many good news out there now, in spite of the coronavirus, in spite of what's going on. There's so many good things. Our environment, for example, I love to read what's happening there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I,
yeah,
I love that reminder for laughter following,
uh,
the worry, because I mean, and that's proven that laughter and
yeah,
comedy actually strengthens our immune system. So
yeah,
that's huge. But I really love the fact that you're noting, um, you know, to focus on what we can control doesn't mean we're ignoring the fact that some people are
mm,
going to be hurt and
yeah,
lives are being turned upside down, and that's without a doubt. And then where we can, we will give our efforts and our energies, but to
yeah.
sort of know what we can control and what we can't control is pretty huge. So,
Yeah, and I think it's so important to recognize that moment. It's almost like there's a safe space that we all have in which we can comfortably be uncomfortable. But if we come out of that space, if we push a little too far, then we go into a state of almost panic. And I am always trying to figure out where I'm approaching that line. And
mhm.
as soon as I start approaching, when I notice that I'm starting to approach that line of, you know what, this is going down that road where I'm just going to be a lot more stressed out, and then it's going to take over me as opposed to me worrying about it. Then I just take my dogs and my kid and we go for a long walk. Those long walks, oh my God, they're lifesavers. And I know that's a repeating theme with your previous guests as well.
Mhm.
But being out in the nature, being outside, it's beautiful weather here in Virginia. Just being outside. Yesterday, my son, one of my kids, and I took like an hour and 20-minute walk down by the river, and it was just so beautiful. It just
Mhm.
centers you, and the dogs get to have their own little exercise, and my son and I get to hang out a little bit, and it's
Yeah, yeah.
important to be mindful of that safe space where you can allow yourself to worry, but not allow yourself to cross over into that dangerous territory.
Absolutely, because once we do cross into the panic zone, we're not
Yeah,
useful to anybody. We're not
no,
useful to ourselves. We can't be supportive to family or others that are going through stressful times either.
yeah,
We can't be aware of what we can even do if we're sort of stuck in the panic mode. So
yeah,
that's a great
yeah.
reminder. And again, the nature is has been a recurring theme, which
Yeah,
again is a little bit of the gift that people are having the time to go for the long walks and get outside, and connect in that way. So I do find that's been very
exactly.
healing for a lot of people.
It
um,
is. And again, just being aware of what you can control. And I know for me, because I read news, what happens outside of the world, and also within here, within our own society, there are so many people that lost their jobs. And for them to sit down and breathe when they cannot even feed their family at the moment, or they don't know where to find another job, they don't know when this is going to be over, when their lives are going to be back in, to some sort of normal. That's frightening. That's scary. So knowing, I understand that at the same time, I get to stay at home with my kids, where my husband is working from home and he gets to support the family right now. I know that we're just blessed that we can even have this kind of conversation. So to those that cannot do any of this, just really remind yourself to control what you can control. Find that space, find that peace of mind, find that moment of health and reset wherever you can, even if it's 5 minutes a day, where you're in your own mindset and when you're in your own state where you can just heal yourself, really just give yourself a little bit of that reminder, hey, this too shall pass. I will be okay one way or another. And it's wonderful to see how people are responding to those that have lost their jobs. There's so many people that are either giving away to those that don't have a job right now, or somehow offering some kind of opportunities. So that connection that's being built, that waking up of the human side of our humanity, of our human species, really, that's touching and amazing. And it's also another added bonus that.
Well, and I love that reminder that in the moment where it seems like everything is lost and everything is the bleakest, we don't know that, and we don't know what else is to come, and we don't know the opportunities and the potential that exist. But there is more. So to sort of live in that present moment, because chances are something will come in to support you, or there is a possibility of that. So not to get lost in the feeling that there is nothing once you get to that moment of panic, or are facing some of the bigger challenges like losing a job or concerns with feeding your family or things like that. And you're right. I love the stories that are coming out, and the way you phrased it as waking up humanity. Just the compassion that's starting to circulate is just, I mean, so heartwarming to see that happen. So, yeah.
I mean, John Krasinski, I love that actor. He just started his own Good News episodes. I know he has only one. I hope he continues. There are many websites out there. There are many people that are just posting all the good stuff. I think it's extremely important to understand that we're first and foremost humans. And I think there's a nice little reminder. There's so many reminders that this coronavirus gave us, but we are being reminded right now, hey, you are human beings. Up to this point, you were all human racers and human doers. Now you're getting back to human beings because you cannot race and do anymore. We're kind of getting you to really connect with other human beings. Like in our family, we're talking to family members now over the phone that we normally wouldn't, because who has the time? And those long walks that are so healing, so important for sanity of everyone. They're usually a gift that can be kind of used here and there, but now it's a daily activity, and oh my God, it's just, we're getting reminded.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is,
And one of the other things I've seen a little bit emerging is even sometimes facing the fear of almost the worst that could happen and then surviving it kind of is freeing, in the sense that if you know you can get through this, you're going to know you're really strong in ways that maybe you didn't know before. And sometimes you do have to let go of some things or have things break down so that you can rebuild something that might be stronger and better. So it's not assuming that because it breaks down, everything's gone, but what else is possible? So
exactly. It's interesting. This is definitely not something, coronavirus is not something to be taken lightly, and not something to be like, oh yeah, it just happens to this population or that population. Irresponsible. We're all in this together. There is no chosen one who's going to live, who's going to die, who's going to get it, who's not going to get it. But one thing that kind of resonates with me here is, again, I mentioned I'm from Serbia, and Serbia had a tumultuous history, and that whole Balkan area has a tumultuous history. And just in the 90s, we had a major civil war. And during that time, talk about uncertainty, for years at a time, you relied on one another to survive, and you really took care of each other. And there is nothing you can control outside of your own family, outside of your own community, and that community became this source of life. So my mom would always be like, you know what, we're going to make through this. This is all going to end. It will end. So that whole thing stuck with me. Community, number one, and second one is it will end. This too shall pass, and just sit tight. We will never be asked again, you know what, be a hero by staying at home, hang out with your family, do nothing, wash your hands,
right?
Just to relax.
Yeah, it is a very unique opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Now, are you? So I love all the things you've mentioned: the laughter, the nature.
Yeah.
Focusing on what you can control and what you can't. And now, are you currently working with clients at all, doing hypnotherapy to help people with the fear of this, or is that something you're open to?
So currently, I actually coincidentally left my job as a clinical hypnotist in February, right before all this has started to kind of pick up with coronavirus. And all I wanted to do was just, you know what, take some time to relax, refocus my energy, hang out with my kids, hang out with my dogs and my husband, and just kind of like take it easy. And then this happened. I was like, okay.
How ironic. Yeah. You got what you wanted.
I got it. Yeah. So currently I don't have an office, and nobody literally has an office right now. And I'm building up my website. It was interesting because I really wanted to take some time off for longer, like for a few months, but then opportunities started to rise up here and there. Almost as if something out there was telling me, nope, you're going to continue offering support in any way you can. So right now I'm not having anything official just yet, but if people want to talk to me, they can definitely send me an email, and I would love to talk to them more, how hypnosis can help, how coaching can help, this anxiety that's going on around, and stress. Hypnosis can really help with all that.
So eventually your goal is to begin a private practice as opposed to where you were working as a clinical hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
That's the goal. That's the goal. Again, I was kind of put into that position more than it was my choice, but it's good. It's really a nice little gentle reminder that you can help people in any way you can, in any capacity.
Well, and I have no doubt that you're going to be very needed as we enter, the future phases of this, where there still is going to be uncertainty, and it's going to take a while to unwind. And even though it will work out, no one may know exactly what that's going to look like, which, like you said, can bring on that anxiety. So
exactly,
I have no doubt that people will be wanting to reach out to you. So I will link your email address, which I think you mentioned people can feel free even now to reach out if they want to know more about what you do, or what you'll be doing in the future. So I will be sure it's Ivana at wellnesspathhypnosis.com, but I'll make sure to put that at the end of the video when we post it.
Thank you. Yes, and please feel free to contact me. Any questions, any interest. I know hypnosis is generally becoming more and more accepted, and people are more curious about it. So I love to talk to people. I love to communicate about it. And you've known me for a while now. We would always go back to that and my passion for it. So, and how I can help. So.
Absolutely. And your results are amazing as well. So I know you helped a lot of people. So, and I really appreciated this conversation because we went, a little farther into some of the discomfort of the coronavirus, as opposed to sort of saying with the lightness of the gifts and the sort of the benefits of being able to have this time. But I do think it's important to look at the challenges as well. So I appreciate you having this conversation with me.
Yes, absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Ivana.
Thank you.